Hello and welcome to Top of the Ninth. Today we are going to look at the top 9 center fielders of all time based off of WAR. Please feel free to subscribe and like, as that would be a big help to this channel. Starting off the list at number 9 is former Philly outfielder Rich Ashburn. A player probably not known by most, played from 1948 to 1962. Ashburn would have been a top player in modern days, only had one top 10 MVP finish during his playing days. Arguably the best defensive center fielder during his time, led the league in outfield assists 3 times and second all-time in outfield range factor, which means he was catching and throwing out more people per game from the outfield than everyone else in history other than one. Overlooked in his time due to limited power numbers, hit 308 in his career and led the league in walks 4 times. His one flaw, as stated earlier, was his power, as he hit 29 career home runs, with 7 coming in his last year. He had a career WAR of 64.3 all time. He just never stood out as he should due to him playing at the same time as Mantle, Snider, and Willie Mays, who were all playing as good as him, hitting and fielding wise, but hitting 30 plus home runs every year and winning titles. Number 8 all time was 8-time All-Star Snider, one of the big 3 center fielders, all playing in New York City at the same time in the 50s. He won 2 World Series with the Dodgers, one in New York and the others in the Dodgers' second season in LA. Snider was one of the best sluggers of his time. He had a career average of 295 and hit 407 home runs, which at the time of his retirement in 1964 placed him 6th all time. Often the overlooked of the big 3 center fielders due to Mays being arguably the best player ever, and Mantle winning 7 World Series and 3 MVPs. Snider's peak was as good as the others, but basically after his age 30 season, he was an average player, with 82.6% of his 65.9 career WAR coming from his first 11 seasons, and only 17.3% coming in his last 7 years. During his peak years from 1950 to 1956, he averaged 150 games a year while hitting 311, 35 home runs a year, and 32 doubles a season to help power him to the Hall of Fame. To maybe many people's surprise, the number 7 center fielder all time based on WAR is Kenny Lofton, one of the fastest player in baseball history. He was a 6-time All-Star and 4-time Gold Glove winner. He's part of some elite Cleveland teams in the 90s that feature Albert Bell, Manny Ramirez, Omar Vizquel, and Jim Thome that fell just short of the World Series. He was arguably the best center fielder in the 90s other than Ken Griffey Jr. In his 17-year career, he finished 15th all-time in stolen bases with 622 and put up a career on-base percentage of .372 for his whole career, and just fell short of batting .300 for his career with a .299 average and 2,428 hits. Lofton was a top 5 player in the AL each season from 92 to 94, but was only a top 10 MVP finisher 1 time in his career and failed to make the 5% Hall of Fame mark in 2013 to stay on the ballot. If he was playing in today's game, he would have been rated a lot higher and hopefully will make the Hall of Fame from the Veterans Committee someday with his career 68.4 WAR. There is a big jump in talent from 7 to the top 6 as we approach players that were generationally talented. Number 6 is Joe DiMaggio, who won 3 MVPs, 9 World Series titles, and 13 All-Stars in his 13-year career. DiMaggio would have been a whole lot higher if he played longer, but missed 3 years due to World War II. Based on WAR, he was a top 10 player every year, but his last and his 9 World Series titles are second most all-time by one player, when topped by Yogi Berra. He was competing with Ted Williams for the best hitter of his time, was the most popular player of his generational, from being the King of New York, winning titles in the biggest city, to marrying Marilyn Monroe, to having a mythical 56-game hitting streak. In one of the shortest careers on this list, he hit 325 all-time with 361 home runs and a 79.1 WAR to become a mythical player. At number 5 is the only active player on this list, and as a guest is Mike Trout. At the time of writing, he is just starting his 13th season, and his short career has already produced 83.1 WAR, and if he retired today, he would be the 59th most valuable player all time. Aged just 31, he has a chance to double his career numbers as he might not even be halfway done with his career. The only thing that seems to be stopping him from being a top 10 player is health, as COVID shortened one of his seasons, and from 2021 to 22 he missed 50% of the games played due to injury. He started off 23 very hot and seems to be making off for lost time though. So far he has a 303 average with 353 career home runs and 415 on-base percentage, and his 7th all-time in on-base percentage with 177, which means he is 77% better at hitting than the average baseball player in his time. His 3 MVPs and 10 All-Star appearances in bright future. The only stain on his short career is that he only made the playoffs once due to the Angels' incompetence. He will hopefully achieve some playoff success that is missing from his career and can be number 1 on best center fielders of all time when all is said is done. Just missing the top 3 is Griffey Jr., who comes in at number 4 by barely beating out Mike Trout by 0.7 WAR with a career WAR of 83.8 WAR. The number 1 overall pick in 1987, he made his debut at 19 for the Mariners, and the kid instantly became the face of baseball with his elite play and the joy he showed on the field. Over his 21 years, he is 7th all-time in home runs with 630 and one of 9 all-time players with over 600 home runs. At the start of the steroid era, he was as good as the users, leading the AL in home runs from 1997 to 99 without any steroid suspicion. He jump-started Seattle baseball as in 1995 he led the Mariners to the playoffs for the first time ever in their 18th season franchise history, along with the Mariners' first winning season in 1991. Imagine for the first 13 years of your franchise, all you did was lose. Then you get Griffey, and 3 more years after that, he leads you to the playoffs for the first time in history. A first ballot Hall of Famer with the face of Seattle baseball, he had a huge impact on and off the field as anyone in the 1990s. Number 3 is Mickey Mantle. One of the big 3 center fielders of New York, as mentioned earlier, had a tremendous 18-year career in which he won 3 MVPs, 7 World Series, and a Triple Crown, all with the Yankees. His first year with the Yankees was Joe DiMaggio's last, which means the Yankees had 2 top 6 center fielders of all time for 30 plus years in a row. Over his 18 years, he's averaged 292 average, 46 home runs, and 102 RBIs. He helped him finish with 536 home runs, which when he retired in 1968 was 3rd all-time behind the still active Willie Mays and Babe Ruth. He led the league in home runs 4 times and slugged 54 home runs in 1961 in the famous summer of '61, in which him and his teammate Roger Maris were both chasing Babe Ruth's 60 home run record in a season, which Maris eventually hitting 61 on the last day to break the record, and Mantle falling just short. His 110.2 WAR is 21st all-time. The second best center fielder all-time is Trout, playing from 1907 to 28. He was the best hitter along with Honest Wagner pre-Babe Ruth. Speaker and Ruth actually played together back when Ruth was still a pitcher on the Boston Red Sox, and Speaker was playing center field for them. He is a 3-time World Series champion and was as good as a contact hitter as anyone all-time. Over his 22-year career, he is 9th all-time with a career 345 average, 5th all-time with 3,514 hits, 6th with 222 triples, and the all-time leader in doubles out of everyone in history with 792, which is 46 more than second place Pete Rose, who had over 3,000 more plate appearances than Tris Speaker. The second best center fielder all time is the 9th most valuable player in history with 134.9 career WAR. The only player that could be number 1 is Say Hey Kid Willie Mays, the best all-round player ever, and is in many people's eyes the best ever, was a true five-tool player as anyone, as he could field with his 12 gold gloves, which is tied for fifth most all-time by one player in his iconic over-the-shoulder catch in the 1954 World Series. He could hit for contact as shown by his .301 career average and 3,293 hits, which places him 13th all-time. Mays had tremendous power, hitting 660 home runs, 6th all-time behind only A-Rod, Pujols, Ruth Aaron, and Barry Bonds, and it could have been more if it was for Candlestick Park in San Francisco, which kept many home runs in. He had elite speed with his 339 career stolen bases, with him leading the league 4 separate times. And lastly, he had a great arm as he led the NL in throwing out runners from center field 3 times. He was one of the first players to break the color barrier 4 years after Jackie Robertson, and is one of the most gifted players of all time with 24 All-Star appearances, 2 MVPs, and 1 World Series. He was the first of 7 players in the 300-300 club with 300 home runs and 300 stolen base, and is 5th all-time in career WAR with 156.1, only topped by Barry Bonds, Cy Young, Walter Johnson, and Babe Ruth.